Present.
And we'll stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge
I pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America
America.
and to
To
the
the
republic
republic
which stands
stand
one nation under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty
liberty and
and
justice
justice
for all.
for all.
Stereo.
Let's see. Number 2, line item, board member resignation of the board.
Guess we don't need to delay this anymore. I move to approve the resignation of Dustin Gustavus in position number 5 from the Board of Directors, effective immediately as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Number 3, declare board of directors position number 5 open.
I
So
move,
we need a motion for that.
okay, I move to declare Lake County School District number 7, Board of Directors, position number 5, open. Letters of interest will now be accepted.
Do I have a second?
Second. I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes. Number 4, board governance.
Yeah,
Explanation of motion.
Madam Chairman, after doing some homework on, I think somebody's muted. Sorry. After doing some homework on this, with the OSBA, somebody's got back for you.
Will you say to mute out, darling?
Yeah, we guys all mute out if you're not. It looks like
Yeah, we should be good.
Very good. So according to OSBA, the issue is that the school board has pretty much 3 options. Right now, what they could do is they could nominate a new chairman for the board, or they can nominate our current acting chairman for the board, or they can wait till they have a full board and then nominate the new position. So the board has pretty much 3 options as they see, but it's not an automatic thing where Andy automatically becomes board chair. So that's the explanation. Any questions? Okay, thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Does anyone have an opinion on how they want to proceed?
Well, I think from the last meeting we had when Dustin decided he wanted to be chair, Barry's very capable of still doing that. You know, I think Dustin was pretty vocal during all the meetings, and it was nice to have a board member obviously always vocal and doing a lot of that research. Barry, I would like to see you as chair, and I'd like to make that motion that we nominate Barry Schoenberger to be the chair once more and keep Annie as vice chair. And you know, as you fill in, you've done a great job as well at that as well. So that'd be my recommendation for the motion.
I would second that. Okay. And Barry, I just want to let you know I'm more than willing to do the job if you're good after 2 or 3 years. So I was hesitant to go forward just because I can't always come in person. So, but I've spoken to Michael and we can make things work as well. But I'm fine either way.
Okay. I'm willing to do it.
We had a motion, so it's good.
So, Madam Chairman, the motion is on there with the second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye.
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 Okay.
Motion passes. And so, Michael, do I hand it off to him now, or do we do it at the next meeting?
You do
How
it,
does,
we would hand it off to him now.
okay,
Want to switch me seats again?
I probably did it from here.
Okay.
You're doing good. Okay.
There you go.
Number 2, approval and amendment of meeting agenda items.
looks like we have an addition, 8.1. I didn't write down those numbers.
$11,338.77.
Okay, so with that addition, make a motion to approve the meeting agenda for items for August 12th, 2020 as presented.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the meeting agenda items, including 8.1 for August 12th as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Chair says aye. Motion carries. Approval of minutes.
I move to approve the minutes of July 8th, 2020 as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of July 8th, 2020 as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Chair says aye. Motion carries. Number 4. Are we good? Okay. Number 4, good news.
Got some good news. Bobby's one of our outstanding employees for the district for multiple years, and she wanted to compliment the maintenance crew for the way they kept up with the track and all the stuff. So I wanted to add that. That was a great comment. Also, I want to mention that I'm pretty pleased with the maintenance stuff. You haven't seen Hay Elementary. They finished painting that. They done some signs, so we got some work going, and they did a great job with the garage sale. So when I get down to the superintendent's report, I'll talk more about that. But that was a good news thing that we wanted to pass on. Bobby had heard that from visitors who were on the track with the group, so it was great. It wasn't her just doing it; she just repeated it.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Number 5, public comment. Reports. Superintendent's report.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I want to appreciate we had Eric. I want to say it right.
Nur.
Eric Nur and the Ben Young Fire. So we were able to negotiate using our facility, and it was great for our staff. And I want to appreciate our high school administration. They were in there, part of it all the time, dropping in there. And our custodial crew went above and beyond the call of duty. I was able to pop in there multiple times throughout the time, and it was just a real great partnership, and we hope they consider us again. So the Ben Young Fire, we were able to negotiate $1,200 a day. So after the cost of our custodians, we made over $8,000. So that was huge for us, and that will go into our programs. So we'll keep you posted on where we're looking at that. They also sent us a very nice appreciation for our staff, so I want to mention that to everybody. It was great, and I'm going to get that framed and put in the office. But one of my first opportunities to work with the entire community, and I was very impressed. It was a military operation. It was really fabulous to watch. So I thank the board for allowing us to do that. And not only they left the facility better than they found it, and we were able to use the facility. And also some of the people on the crew were graduates, so it was like homecoming. They were very excited about that. So I wanted to mention that to you. Any questions about that? Okay. Next thing is I got the opportunity to meet with the union representative and the local, so we appreciate the union working with us, teachers union, and I met with the classified as well, but teachers union I got to meet with their area rep, and it was very exciting to see that we're really on the same page about trying to take care of safety of our teachers and our staff, and so we got a pretty good plan working there. We're still moving through things. But I really appreciate their willingness to try to accommodate and make sure that we, make sure our staff are safe, but also to make sure that we have a good working relationship. So I thought I want to praise our union presidents. They did a great job, and I was really pleased that they were able to set up a lot of meetings, but they also were able to set up that meeting. So we're way ahead of the game, and I thank them for that. I also wanted to talk about the garage sale. Maintenance crew and custodial crew did a great job on that. We sold about a little over 70% of all the stuff we had down there. But we're going to put some of it out there again and let people come and just, put a small bid offer, take it with them, and then after that we will dispose of it as per policy. But we were able to get that building, and people were amazed how big that building is. You forget how big it is once it's got stuff out of it. So we made a little over $3,000 profit. We still have a couple dollars still coming in, but over $3,000 profit. So I want to thank everyone for that, and that was a really nice thing for everyone, and it was a win-win for everybody. They really do believe that someone's trash is someone else's treasure, so it was definitely proven that day. And by the way, I want to thank the track and softball teams. They came out and helped out, and I got to meet some of the kids and work with them. So appreciate Chris setting that up, and it was great to have them come work with us. And it was for me personally, it was nice. First time I got to deal with kids, which is supposed to be my whole job. So I was very excited about dealing with kids, for the first time in a while. So it was great. And social distancing was practiced, and we did the best we could. So it was good.
Mr. Carter, if I may, it was the band with the softball team. I
Okay.
just want to recognize
Yeah, I
the
had,
band crew.
that's right, a
being out
band
there.
crew. That's right. I apologize. I said track, band crew. I apologize to all the students who did that and parents who brought them over. Let's see what else I got. So that's met with the county superintendents today. So we had our county superintendents. We're really working well. That was one of the things that I was really excited about, to get to meet my colleagues in the county. We're very united right now, and we have plans to work with our health department. So if there is an outbreak as we come back in person, we will have all the protocols in place to ensure staff safety and student safety. We also have very deep open communication, so we have automatic text to each other. We also talked about student safety and also how we're going to have training for incidents, so we're going to be working with that. And we also have some combined training with in-service with some of their staff, and they want to join our mentor program. So we're very excited about that, to work with there. I also was able to attend the board meeting with Superintendent Thompson in Adele and in Plush. I went Monday night to Adele's board meeting and Plush, and they were very excited about working with us, and we're working on our agreements, and we have a very good relationship with them. I met with the superintendent today with Janet, and Janet did a great job setting up our transition for students who will be coming here for an agreement. So we have our agreement. We'll bring that to the board next month. But right now the agreement's in a good, solid place, and we'll have some work there. I also wanted to praise Evan Reese. He's got some great plans with Chris about how we can connect connectivity. So if we do have to go distant learning, we're working on a real nice plan there to have an agreement with them, and Monday we hope to finalize that. So we're in really, really good shape with that one, to make sure that if we do have to go back to distant learning for some of our students or for the entire district, we're ready to go. So we feel that that's really going great, and the superintendent was very cordial to us. Business manager Janet has a very good relationship with him, so you can see that, and it makes an agreement like that really easy. I've not seen something like that in my entire career, because normally you wouldn't see that. So that's a tribute to everyone in that group. I want to praise our administrative team. When we get to the plan here, you'll see this entire team come in. They're tired of meeting with me. They come in here and talk, and there are a lot of meetings, but they really wrote a great plan, and and I really just can't thank them enough. And I also want to call out Susan and Lane, all the work they did in their thing, and Lonnie. So working on trying to take care of this, our kids with special needs and also special considerations. So that we worked out real well. And Chris has got a lot going with the academy. Next month you'll hear a report from him, and I'll let the principals talk about the report when they get down there. But Chris won't be able to say much, but next time he'll have a big full thing for you on the academy. He's worked a lot of extra hours on this, and it's pretty exciting. So I think you're going to see some great options there for some of our kids, so we will not lose some of the kids to online school. And also, if we have to use that, we have it there. The nice thing about the program as well, that Chris and Lonnie and them did some homework on, they were able to get a program that if we do go online, our teachers will be able to access that curriculum. So that way it's the same thing as we looked at before. So it's going to be a nice tool for the teachers as well, if we get to that place. And also, as they're in their classroom right now, in person, they can use that curriculum. So it's not going to waste. It's going to be great. We did have an issue, and I wanted to mention it to the board. We haven't solved it yet. Lane brought it to my attention. It's one of the things that him and I did not know about, because it happened before we got here, but the language arts adoption, there were some concerns there, because the adoption is only for 6 years, and the 6th year ended in June. So it's one of those details we did not find about until this last week, but I wanted to make sure the board knew about it now, and we'll be having a solution for you at the next board meeting. We'll have it in the next couple of weeks, but we want to make sure you got that. So that's important to know, that that adoption, we've never seen it before. It's a 6-year adoption through the electronic textbooks. The problem is Oregon has a 7-year adoption, so there's a 1 year, and we're trying to figure out how that works. So I just wanted to make sure the board was aware there's a potential issue there. But between our team, we'll figure out how to make it happen. I also want to, last but not least, Tandy has been a great asset to me personally. It's really great to use some of her talents. She helps me stay out of trouble. Which is difficult, trust me, because I'm like a Tigger sometimes, and I'm finding. But I really do appreciate the district office here as well. Patty and Amy and Janet have been very helpful for me, and Lonnie, and I just can't thank them enough for making me feel welcome, and also for the support they give me. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. Is there any questions?
Any questions, board?
Thank you all.
Okay, I take it we're on number 2, 2020,
It's me again.
21 reopening plan.
So, Mr. Chairman, I didn't bring it in here, but I just got off channel 12 and I showed them how big the plan was. We got it yesterday and it's 130 something pages, so revisions. And the nice thing about it is the administrative team has been involved with it all the way step by step. So we were ready if they didn't change the matrix. But I want to thank the county commissioners and Senator Finley and others who were able to work with the wide selection of people, and they were able to come up with a logistical compromise that fits our geographic region. And I'm excited about that. We have a lot of responsibility. We're going to take that responsibility seriously. All the superintendents talked today, and especially our district, since we are going to be the biggest pilot in the state. So with 700 plus kids, we're going to make sure that we follow it and we set the example all the way through. And we do not want to have them closed because of a technicality. So we're going to make sure our kids are safe and our staff safe, and we're going to follow the procedures and protocols. That being stated, the reopening plan, I sent you a summary outline in a PowerPoint. I'm sorry, I just now got it out, but we was down to the wire making the last minute corrections because we had to revamp everything. But if you look at that PowerPoint, we sent it to all of you. It just has a goals welcome back. A couple things I want to hit on the highlights here. This covers it all. We're going to be sharing this with all the community tomorrow after the board sees it. We operate with the governor's guidelines, ready schools. We meet the needs of students academically and socially, and we maximize all of our facilities. So that's why we had to move some of the stuff out to make sure we have classrooms that fit the 35 square foot requirement. And also to make sure we minimize all legal liability. I talked to our attorney, and him and I met, and we feel that we are there. So, and he's going to review the plan again and get back to see if there's anything we're missing. But liability is a big part to us on that one. And anytime you want to jump in there, Jeff, let us know if I missed something. But we appreciate his having that support.
No, I don't have anything at this time. It's very comprehensive, so.
I'm sharing the PowerPoint.
Okay.
Maybe you can just do a Control F5 to show it forward.
Thank you, Jeff. And right now we're sharing the PowerPoint with you. So I just finished. Page 1 was the nice colorful one with honker colors with the background that you can see. And then the next one is welcome back. So that was a big part for me to say welcome back to everybody. It's huge. And then the next page, and I didn't put page numbers, I'm sorry, because I kept working on it, but compliance. So this is the compliance that as a talking point for the board, whenever someone asks you what they have to be, this is it. So we did a split schedule, and we did that so we can try to keep the cohorts as small as possible to minimize district risk and liability. We also have met all the food requirements, working on that, and the cohort requirements about isolation rooms. Susan's plan is very detailed on that. Individual screening, so we are going to ask later on number 8. We're going to get those thermometers outside, so there's one entrance to each building, and that way we make sure that students are tested, and that way in case even if they feel fine, we're going to make sure that we've done as much as we possibly can. We're having training tomorrow with bus drivers, and we're talking about they're our first level of screening because they're the ones that be saying, how you doing today, how you feeling, and so that would be our first level of screening. If they have any concerns or nothing, they'll be calling, they'll be not emailing, but getting on the radio and talking to program support so we can make sure we follow up with that student. On the next page, I'm going rapidly, so I apologize. If you want me to stop or anything, let me know. This is the instructional time and teacher facilitation learning. So we have to, if we go online, we have to have these accomplishments here. The nice thing about being in place, we don't have to really worry about that because it's asynchronous, it's right in time. So we're really pleased, but we want to make sure you know that we have to address this. And one of the things when I asked the board later that we, move our start day of school to the 16th, one of the reasons is it will allow us to go through all these trainings. That way, if we do have to go online, we can do it very rapidly. We're talking, we're going to say within 2 days is what our admin team said, but we probably will make it quicker. We always like to over deliver and under promise. So within 2 days, we'll be back online, fully operational if we have to. The next page talks about safeguarding student opportunity. So this is a requirement from the plan, and that particular requirement allows us that for students who did not get an opportunity to catch up or to make sure they were on track to graduate or other opportunities, we have to have that in place by the end of September. So that's what we have to have, and that's the credit recovery and everything. And that's one of the nice things about having the academy and some other options online with some tutorials that we'll be able to address those needs and take care of students who fall into that category. And Lonnie's worked pretty hard on that and trying to get IEPs up to date. because we were behind, and she's been working hard to get that caught up for us with the ESD. Moving right along, so we have 3 options. The first one, of course, is the one that we go hoo-hoo to everybody, because that's really exciting, because we're in person. And people are very jealous of us. I mean, they know that. And then I know that Falmouth County, they want to look at those matrix, see how we do, and then they want to come back soon, and so does Medford. I heard that today from the superintendent. So I think, people are watching us, and it's very important, as I tell everyone, we wear the mask for our students. If you doesn't matter what you believe or nothing, but we wear it for our kids. So various models, so K-12 meets all the requirements. We have 5 days a week. If we go online, it'd be 4 days a week with extra supports on Friday. The Lakeview Academy is 5 days with customized schedules. So that's one of the things that Chris has been working on. It's nice thing about it, it lets the students work at their pace and their time. We're asked to start school on September 16th in order to prepare for the complexities of social distancing, safety, and of course academic rigor. So that's one of the things we want there, and that will allow us to have training. So we have training on the 25th and 26th for our teachers for Google Classroom. So it will not be anything like the spring. Our teachers got good at it, but now we're going to make them great at it, and that's going to be important. So we're going to have train the trainers on the 25th, and then we'll have entire groups there. We also have our administrative team has plans so we can teach parents. So we'll have classrooms on how to be a parent. And that's important here. So we have a checklist.
25th and 26th of August.
Of August, yes, sir. Of August, sorry, I should have said that. I apologize. Yeah, so this August, that's why there's one of the trainings there. And that will afford us the opportunity to make sure our staff is there. We're asking each staff to teach each other for a little bit, sign up they're competent, and then we can make sure we get things right. And then we have implemented plans, so Lakeview Academy, mixed method with options to support teachers if we move to a CDL model. Comprehensive distance learning. So the next page talks about comprehensive distance learning. It really goes into all the things we have to do. So that goes into safety with the internet and everything. So it's pretty important. And we have equity involved there, and we have innovation. So we're really trying to teach our teachers how to use that. And hopefully, I just call it our safety net. We don't want to go there, but we'll be ready. The next one, though, is in-person model with special protocols, procedures. So that's where we're at. So, that's the K-12 protocols. So pros, we get to meet state guidelines with the new metrics. Student groups are smaller and safer. Can be implemented with no loss of current programs, and that's huge. Cohorts are smaller, fewer go home if we have a positive test. We work with our health department on this, and that works. With Lakeview Academy options, parents can choose what's best for their child. So we heard that loud and clear. We actually heard specific examples of where a child did great, online, and then their sibling didn't. So we're going to see a lot of split there. So we're going to see that happening. So we want to make sure we do that. And again, the Lakeview Academy is not going away. This is the first year, and it's going to get better and better. And we'll have more of our own teachers involved with it. So we're pretty excited about the growth and the opportunity for our kids. The cons, students will be at school in a very controlled environment. So coming in here, you're going to have to, I haven't seen my friend, Sally in a long time. I'm going to have to I might not be in her cohort. So that's going to be tough. We also talked about as an administrative team, what we're going to do about if a cohort's not mixing. Maybe you have me in there and I'm a bully in the cohort. How do we address that? And parents voice that concern, and so do teachers. So that's one of the things we'll be working on. How do we move a cohort if we have to move 1 or 2 people out, or how do we address behavior issues in the cohort? So we'll keep you posted as we get those moving, but we wanted to make sure you know that we were talking about that. Places a burden on student, family, teachers to meet compliance requirements, the new normal. So we're going to ask parents to be our partners. I mean, that means if your son or daughter is not feeling well, and even if you have to work, you need to keep them home or let us know so we keep them isolated. That's going to be huge. For us, and also the same thing with staff. So we worked real well with the union. I appreciate the leadership, as I mentioned earlier, that we're able to make sure that we're going to treat people as professionals, make the call, and then what we do is if I self-isolate myself as a teacher, then I will be responsible to call students at home and also for tutorials. So it's not, they don't get a free day off, but they're going to be there taking care of other jobs as we have them. So we're going to make sure we look at some mental health issues and things like that. We'll have guidance for teachers on that one. But also the nice thing about it, we're training 3 subs. That's one of the expense here. We're going to hire 3 subs, for 40 days, and the union's going to let us do that, and they will come on and they get trained just like that. So whenever I have a teacher out, that substitute can step in there, and then the person who's quarantined can actually work on the computer with that teacher. So we get the best of both worlds, so we don't miss academic time with our students. The connectivity issue is still there, and Evan, like I mentioned, and his team are working really hard to get that taken care of for us. Even with the hotspots, connectivity is an issue with the CDL model. Okay, moving to the next page, this is the parking place. I already alluded to some of that, but one of the things that we've heard of, and all the people who are listening tonight, I want to apologize to you. I did not want to send out information early to you until we got the state guidelines yesterday. And we got them yesterday afternoon, evening. So then administrators read them last night, and they worked pretty hard, so we've kept up with everything. And we will have information flowing. You'll get this PowerPoint tomorrow, but also we'll be doing some calls out to everyone and keep everyone informed. Right now, for parents who are listening, please make sure you get on there and enroll, so that way we can start looking at the best way to serve your son or daughter in the future. So consider back to school events, virtual, consistent vision, build community. Moving on to the next page, this is what we have to do for short-term and comprehensive distance learning options. So if we have to go short-term, so that means, let's say for instance, we have a case that's positive in 3rd grade, and that cohort, we lose that cohort. We want to seamlessly take that cohort right into distant learning while they're being quarantined. And the quarantine, I have those requirements here on my desk. They're a little less stringent, the timeline, but we're not going to publish that until they finally sign off. But right now, the current one, as of today, is 10 days. So that's where we're at. And then comprehensive learning, you have use of long-term absences, school closures, things like that. So we have all those things in place. And finally, all models in place. Our school district will be ready to move from one model to another as directed by the superintendent, the county health department, ODE, or the governor. So we are set, and that's what I appreciate. It's nice to have such an effective and functioning team. So the next page is deals with K-12 on-site, the pros and cons. Now, I always put the pros there, but I could have a whole lot more on there. So I want to make sure you saw that. And it covers some nice things on there. I think that it goes there. But one of the cons there, though, is the daycare. And I know that you probably, if you watch the news, you'll hear that Medford superintendent and Klamath Falls is working real hard to get a daycare program. We're working on that as well. And we want to provide that for also our essential personnel in the community. And that's what Charlie and the hospital and others, we want to make sure we take care of our community. We're all in this together. So we're working on that to get some options for our daycare for our staff. That way they can, when they're teaching in the classroom here, that they can be taken care of, especially since we have school ending at 1:30. So there's some pretty creative things. Susan has some stuff there with her staff. I was just amazed when I met with them that how creative they are. They problem solvers. So that's good. I just get out of the way, let those smart people take care of it. So that's where we're at with that one. On-site, the cohorts are a little larger, of course, in a tight ratio. So there's double buses, so that's going to cost some money. So those are the cons and pros, but as the data shows, our staff and our community want to have it in person, so we're excited about it. Finally, the next one is, I'm sorry, I guess you guys get probably tired of me saying this, together we can make this work, and I wholeheartedly believe it, that together, it's going to take all of us. So we have our split schedule, our parent partnership, stay home if you're sick, have any symptoms, follow quarantine protocols. We have handouts for those. We'll be sending those out to people. So we have the matrix and the protocols. We have a cheat sheet for every parent. This is what you do, and this is what we're going to ask them to put it on the refrigerator. So that way they check it out every day. Lakeview Strong, I know it's supposed to be Lake County Strong, but I customized it to Lakeview Strong because this is us right now. We're in this together. This is a war, and we're going to win this together. In order to keep schools open in person, everyone will wear masks, follow all social distancing procedures. We know they're going to watch us, and we're going to do it right. And we're not doing it because people are watching us. We're doing it because it's the right thing for our kids, and that's what we got to do. What we can do. So people are going to ask that, wear your mask, wash your hands, keep social, and of course the new terminology is physically distance. So I put that in there. That's a new change today. And then stay home if you are ill, and if we do this, so that our students can attend school in person. And that's what we want to get that message out. So final considerations, this is the big money piece of the board. I always put it in the back part. I almost made it red, but it didn't turn out good when I put red on there. It didn't look great. But possible financial impacts about $200,000. Now we will get the CARES Act money, and that will take care of most of it. But I want to make sure you're aware of that. There's the 3 extra subs, 40-day hires, additional busing, consolidated distance learning coordinator. We also have professional devices, and I want to mention that we did receive from the state, and Jack Thompson and his group were able to procure that for us, and Barry was part of that as well. We did get all the masks today, and we got visors, and we got face shields. Well, we delivered those to Paisley and to North Lake, and we have our sects here, so we have a lot. So we're ready to roll. So we're ready for that to happen. And Chris also bought some extra ones for some of us. Some of us are wearing those now. Different style to try to see what's the best for our kids. So even if I'm a kid that can't wear a mask or whatever, some of these, the ones we have now, we'll let them try multiple ones, and we'll get the right one for him or her. So if you're a parent out there, don't worry about it. We want to make sure we take care of your son or daughter, and we have options for you. So please note these are estimates only, but there's some of the costs. Special trainers, distance learning. So like I mentioned, we have Google trainers coming out. I know in the program that Chris is working with, they're going to have some training for our staff, and we'll work with them on that. We also have to do some specialized training for emergencies, because how do you do fire drills, and how do you do earthquake drills, how do you do lockdown drills and lock-in drills with distance, keeping social distancing or physical distancing. I'm trying to learn to say the new term. So that's where we're at with that. By the way, the use physical, I called and asked why. They said because the problem is people social distancing, that everyone has their own bubble, and social distancing, some people are 2 feet, some people are 6 feet. So if they say physical distancing, that keeps everyone in mind that it's 6 feet. So that's what we're working on. I'll share information with the staff and community tomorrow if the board approves the opportunity, and then final submission will go in on Monday to the Oregon Department of Ed, and we have to post it on the website. So that's what we'll be doing with that. This has all gone to the health department, our local health authority, and they're on board with us, and they've been very supportive. The estimates though are there, and I think we're there. It's been a moving target, and I want to tell everybody that I apologize for things coming out late, but we're getting them as soon as we get them. We're working at it to make it work, and we got a really good team to work on that. I covered a great deal of information, so board questions, concerns, comments.
I just had a question about the daycare.
Yes.
How do you keep the cohorts separate?
Yeah, great question. In the daycare, they have their own special protocols and daycare, the cohort. So if you go into a daycare, you might be in daycare A, B, and C. There will be some mixing there, and that goes against our count, so we have to work on that. But what happens there, though, is they have some strong protocols. They have to check temperatures every hour in daycare. And also, then adults can only be assigned. So you have 2 adults assigned. So if I'm assigned and Mrs. Smith's assigned, if I get sick or out, Miss Smith takes that spot. We don't put anybody in there. So that's why it's really strict protocols for daycare. But you're absolutely right. There will be a couple more people added, so they will be added to their count. And that's why you can't go more than 9. So we might have 3 different or 4 different daycares depending on the need. And then what will happen too is Susan, I don't want to steal any thunder from her, but Susan's group has come up with some creative ideas, and they're in the process of doing that. So we'll keep you posted, but that is a very legit question. It's one of the considerations we're making sure that we address.
Will there be snacks or something involved with daycare?
Yeah, our snacks is just part of the requirements. So we have after-school snacks, and that will be a reimbursement. There's a program for that. But that's also extra work for our staff. So, but, we got new kitchen staff coming, but we'll make it work.
Mr. Carter, I see on the calendar that we still have time for teacher training days.
Yes.
Early release Wednesdays,
Yeah.
basically. That's all good in the
That will
works.
will probably go away, but
Will probably go away.
Yeah, probably go away. We just didn't want to do anything until we heard from what the board can do tonight, and then it's one of our priorities to look at, but it'll probably be next month.
Okay. Any other questions? Any shaking no?
I'm good.
Corey's good. Everyone's good. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I think we're down to, we've already covered the start of school date, right?
You'll have to make a motion on that, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. I'm sorry.
So we need a motion.
It would be cleaner.
The motion of starting school on September 16th.
I move that we start our school date on September 16th, 2020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we start our school opening date on September 16th, 2020, as presented. Is there any final discussion? Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, building principals report. Susan Norlane. Oh, it's like Miss Warner is up.
I should go ahead first every time. He defers to me every time. He's such a gentleman. Mr. Carter covered a lot, and so I'm just going to talk about real specific things at the elementary school as much as I can. We don't have everything nailed down, but as of last week, we've been focused mostly on-site preparation. We are holding volunteer staff meetings every week at the elementary school on Wednesdays. Next week, we're going to change that up just a little bit, and we'll be doing volunteer staff meetings with each building, Fremont, Hay, and Union, and those will be used to start planning logistics on site and troubleshooting areas that we think might be problematic. For example, how do you bring kinders into the building on site for the first time without, with masks and getting them in the building logistically when you don't have that kinder camp prior to that. So those are some of the things that we are working on next week. Just a brief overview, our on-site operational plan looks like a staggered schedule with the buses, with an early morning breakfast, social distance markers in the hallways, gym, common areas to help those little guys space that out. First day of school, we'll be providing training for our students about how to social distance, how to use masks, how to manipulate all of this. There will be no recess before school in the morning. We can't mix those cohorts, and that will be a big challenge for us informationally and on the playgrounds in the morning. Cohorts will be by grade level in town. Union qualifies as one cohort, but we will still practice as much space and distancing by classroom as we can at Union. We'll have a staggered lunch and then one grade level at a time. And then because we release at 1:30, we will not have a PM recess. We do plan to have music and PE as electives as normal, but in a shortened fashion or a rotation. And then Mr. Carter alluded to some daycare issues that we're working on. We've had some teachers come to us with some ideas about after-school activities by grade level to possibly keep those cohorts a little safer, but that's a work in progress. We are using masks in our building currently and encouraging that because we have registration going on and we have some parents trickling in, so we are observing all the safety protocols with disinfecting masks and social distancing. The elementary staff is starting to visit a little bit about what that comprehensive distance learning plan looks like at the elementary level with the guidelines, and again, troubleshooting and planning for what that would look like in the event that we ended up with a distance learning plan. We have completed interviews and hired for the Union cook/custodial position, Union part-time sped para position. Those are all replacing employees. We had added with some additional funding a sped teaching position at Fremont and Union, and that was hired. We are not done with interviews, but we are real close for first and second grade teaching positions as well. We see next steps. I've got the custodial crew working on marking common areas inside the buildings and then playgrounds for social distancing so we can help the little guys figure that out. Secretaries are calling each parent or family to make sure that they have enough information to make the best choice possible for their students. I think it's important that we make that parent contact and we really work with our community to make sure that they're informed. And then we're also working closely with Lake Public Health, like Mr. Carter said, on all of these plans to make sure there isn't anything that we are missing. I also have the staff reviewing safety protocols for our hostile intruder drills, fire drills, and thinking about logistically how we make that happen as well. And then how they deliver curriculum and what needs they might have. And then working on a master schedule that will accommodate all of these different things is kind of what's on the to-do list this week. Do you guys have any questions?
I just have a question about the morning time. I know it's been a struggle for parents who want to drop their kids off at 7:30 or 7:40. Are we going to have someone who's out there kind of ushering kids, physically distancing, or, I mean, I just would be curious how the morning will work.
I don't know for sure yet, Annie, but at this time, we envision those kids coming. The playgrounds will be closed in the morning. They won't be allowed to go to the playground equipment. They will be expected to go get in line as soon as they get there, and they will have paraprofessionals out there helping instruct them as to where to stand for their classrooms. We'll spread the classrooms out, and then they will have markers on the line for social distancing to help guide them and give them a little bit of support so they kind of understand what that means.
Gotcha.
But we just can't do a morning recess.
No, I understand that. I figured it was some work with parents as well. I know that in the past, just drop off time gets earlier and earlier. So that was my curiosity on how to space everyone apart and have them trickle in.
That's one of the things that I want the elementary staff to really think about, is because we may have to stagger that and stagger them coming into the buildings, with kinders probably coming first. And then same thing at Hay School, so that we can get them in and give us enough space to social distance. But those are some of the discussions that are happening right now.
Gotcha.
I have a question, Susan.
Sure.
Do we know what time actual classes would start? Would they start at 7:30? Would they start at 8?
Not at this time. Like we talked about in our staff meeting today, Sam, we need these buses to run first because we're early in the morning. We would like to have our buses run, and then we can work on how much time we're going to need for breakfast service. And then we'll be able to design our start times around that. But we want to give transportation a little bit of time to work some of that out.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to jump in there for a second.
Okay.
Jump in there for a second, just to give you some information on the buses. We're gonna have, Janet and I met, we have the bus meeting tomorrow morning, but we're gonna let parents know as well, but we're actually gonna have now with this Lake Star on the 14th, will be a second dress rehearsal. So we're gonna have a dress rehearsal before then, but we're gonna practice with the buses, so we know exactly what each stop is for checks and everything. So we'll know more by, way before then. But we wanted to make sure you knew that, and I should have mentioned that earlier. But, the bus drivers are, so it's gonna make sure that we understand how it works so we can time the disinfecting and everything. So not just a dry run, but we're actually gonna have 2 dress rehearsals on top of some others, so.
Okay, other questions? I think we're all curious to see how it's gonna work.
Yeah.
And we will reserve those questions for later. Let you guys work out a lot of those kinks. So,
Thank you.
you bet. Thank you. All right, Mr. Stratt.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm going to start off with staffing. I currently have an open 7th and 9th grade English language arts position, but I do have an applicant, and we'll interview next week. I still have my geometry algebra 2 opening, but I also have an interested party there, and we'll either interview at the end of this week or early next week. I have an assistant cook position open, and I have, as of today, an English language learner pair position open. So I have some spots to fill, but I think I got some candidates in there that'll be all right. We'll just have to wait and see. Facilities, like Mr. Carter did, I'd love to give a huge shout out to the janitors, the maintenance crew, and the student work crew. They rocked it this summer. They were able to remove old wax and redo some of our hallways that really needed it over here in the high school. the painting of the signs and the grounds look great again. Very appreciative of that. I'm also appreciative of Mr. Carter hiring the 3 Lakeview High School students to be on the grounds crew. I think that was an awesome job, and the kids have been great. A few years ago, Lakeview High School and Dan Middle School started using collaborative groups as an instructional model. It's pretty much like small learning groups, and they got really into it. And it's a great best practice. Avid supports it. I think it's probably a top Hattie effect size of having students work together to come to an answer. But with COVID and the OHA guidelines, we're going to have to slow down those collaborative work groups and therefore redesign our seating arrangements in our classrooms. And a lot of our classrooms went to tables to facilitate that collaborative group. So I'm going to have to remove some tables and bring some desks in, and that will be something I'll be asking the maintenance crew and the student work crew to help, probably starting next week. And we're currently, I'm using Emma and Evan Reese in the tech department in our sign making capabilities to make our own COVID signs instead of buying them. So we're working on hallway directional signs, physical distance signs, some signs that are going on the drinking fountain, stuff like that. So we're making some signs, trying to do it here in-house. Also putting some room occupancy signs, especially some of our smaller rooms, staff rooms and stuff like that, so people know how many people can be in that room. Some professional development over the summer. We had 5 high school, middle school staff attend virtually the Avid Summer Institute. And even though it was virtual, I would say, Mr. Rose, you can pipe in here, it was worth it. There was some good stuff. And I think one of the things that I really appreciate about it is because it was virtual, everything they did was virtually. So all the teaching and leadership skills we learned was on a virtual platform. So I learned some neat stuff about Google and how to enhance that, and I'm excited to pass that on to our staff when we get up and running. And then last week, I know that Mr. Rose did a better job than I did, but we also attended the COSA Summer Leadership Conference virtually. I made one session, just been really busy, and it's hard to do those virtual sessions when you're trying to figure out how to put a school together in a short time. We're ready to get open after Labor Day. I'm probably one of the most vocal on we need to have our kids in our building, and I'm excited that that's going to happen. But I also know that we have some hurdles that we got to get through: student numbers in the classrooms, the schedules, and then the cohorts. I'm looking at grade level cohorting, but as you can imagine, especially in the high school, it's hard to cohort in our certain classes when we have multiple grade levels in it. For instance, geometry. It's not just a 10th grade class. It's a 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade class. But we're working on limiting the number of cohorts in those. Mrs. Harris has came in and helped me a bunch, and we feel pretty good where we're at, and we're making some changes. But everything changes daily depending on how many students enroll. We've had a bunch of new students enroll. We've had some students move out, and then we have our academy. So every day our numbers change. So we'll see what's going on there. We will use that Google platform as our online platform, but we'll also use Google when we open in person, because it's important for especially our high school students to learn how to use an electronic learning management system. We call them LMSs, because when they do go to college, most colleges are using some sort of a learning management system like Canvas or LancerNet or EagleNet. And so I think it's really important that we still stick with Google and have our students learn how to navigate electronically, even if we are face-to-face. So a lot of teachers will be using Google even in the face-to-face, day-to-day learning. And when we get ready in the next 2 weeks, we're going to work on an emphasis on training our staff, student, and parents on that Google platform so that everybody's ready. We're going to, in the past we used to have open house nights. Well, we're going to have open level parent training nights by grade level, and let parents come in, and then we'll have staff work with those parents on how to navigate that Google platform. and Google Suites. And then currently right now, I'm looking at 2 different daily schedules. Today I worked with a few staff members and looked at something, and so right now I have 2 daily schedules in front of me, and I'm trying to determine what's best for student learning, most importantly, and making sure that our students have the ability to come to school and still get that great Lakeview education. And so I've looked at a different schedule and I'm liking it. I gotta get some okays from Mr. Carter and a couple other teachers, and then I'll get that out as soon as possible if that's the route I determined to make. Yearbooks are in. We've been handing those out to seniors along with a DVD of the graduation. So all the seniors have been contacted to come and get that DVD and then pick up their yearbook. And then I'll hand yearbooks out to all the other students during registration, which starts next week. We've had our online registration open for a week now, and then face-to-face registration will start August 18th for new students, seniors and juniors on Wednesday the 19th, sophomores and freshmen on Thursday, 8th and 7th grade on Friday the 21st, and then on Monday the 24th, we will do face-to-face registration with the Lakeview Academy students. English language arts curriculum, Mr. Carter kind of mentioned that. We got hit with a bombshell Thursday evening. And I thought, oh, I got this, and I didn't worry about it too much, and then made phone calls on Friday, and then didn't sleep well over the weekend because the online resources that we were using are no longer available. I forget the word they used. Extremely frustrated, but today I knocked on some doors and said, you gotta do better than that, you gotta help me out. And the gal from Holt McNeil got back to me tonight and says, I believe I have found DVD resources for grades 6 through 12 for the textbook we have been using. She does not know for sure, but she has not hit any hurdles in getting that mailed to me. She's gonna call me back tomorrow to say yay or nay. So I don't know what your religious affiliation is or how you go about it, but if you are the praying type, Mr. Stratton and my language arts teachers could use some support on that. Because if not, I have 0 teacher resources for our current English language arts textbook. And that will be tough. We don't have that. Don't know how it happened. A good learning lesson for me and Mr. Rose as we move forward and we take notes on other adoptions to make sure that people know how these adoptions work, because this one put us in a big pickle. Textbooks have gone away from printing out all the teacher resource packets because they're saving on paper and they've done it electronically. And so that's how the publishers are doing it, because it saves on shipping and handling and cost. But if you don't save them as a teacher, you're where we were at Thursday evening. But I feel good, so fingers are crossed, and hopefully that works. And then the last tab is credit recovery for 1920. You know, in the spring we had to put together a credit recovery earning plan for any student grade 9 through 12 who did not earn their credit at the end of the school year. And my staff is amazing. We got most of all of our Tier 1 students. I have a couple that are still working on stuff currently as we talk, but I'm talking maybe 3 or 4 students at that Tier 1 level. Then we had our Tier 2 and Tier 3 kiddos, and those students, we knew before the closure that they were gonna probably have to take either summer school or take the class again this year. And we worked with them and they knocked out a few of them, but we still have anywhere from 10 to 15 students that have 1 or 2 classes that either will re-enroll this year in our face-to-face or in a credit retrieval class, step up with Mrs. Stratton, or we're doing an independent study using Odyssey or Orbit. But my hat's off to my staff, all of them, the paras, the ELL paras, the special ed paras, the teachers, my office ladies, and Mr. Rose. We did a phenomenal job with our credit recovery and getting the students their credits.
High school only.
And I think I'm done, so if there's any questions, I'll entertain those.
Any questions? Are we gonna talk, sports at all? Are we doing any update?
Yeah, Ms. Rose for sports.
Okay.
That sounds like a newscast deal. Ms. Rose for sports, follow these messages.
Okay, the news is there are no sports. Well, a little more specifically, it's changed. Let me go to my notes here. So OSAA released a new calendar. So they've, during the mid part of the closure, they eliminated the moratorium week, which is that week off before the association year starts. But due to the inactivity, they took that away, and now they made some pretty major changes. So now there are 4 seasons in this upcoming association year, and August 31st is when that begins. So that's pushed back 2 weeks. They sent out a guiding document, which is a couple pages long, but it has the breakdown. The first season is actually going to be the winter sports, and then come the fall sports, and then the spring sports. But the winter sports don't begin until the end of December, December 28th. And so everything's truncated. It's really short, but they did the best they could. At the fall AD meeting today, they said what they did was take the typical number of contests, the contest limitations for each sport for each season, divided by the number of weeks, and they created a proportion. And then they said, well, if we only have 7 weeks to play, then how many games would that translate to? How many contests? And so that's how they came up with basketball can have 14 games max this year, for example, football 7. And so there's a lot to talk about there. It's really best to read it. I'd be happy to email you all the calendar. There's a lot of discussion about it because this season 1 is something pretty new. Imagine that through COVID that we have a new design here. So from August 31st to December 27th, we are in a season where there aren't sanctioned league games, for example, but all sports can do something to some degree depending on OHA's guidance, ODE's guidance, where the school is in terms of on-site or CDL, and you know how your region is if you have somebody to go scrimmage with or have an informal game with. So there's a lot to it. It was really good to sit 2 hours today with 300 people across the state and talk through this. But that's kind of the plan. So everything really is a wait and see because we all know things can change pretty quickly. But at this time, there's those 4 seasons. This first one being kind of an open period, and then the competition season starting at the end of December.
Mr. Rose, did they talk at all about the non-high school or maybe club teams or like
So not
EDL?
specifically club. However, OHA's guidance is K-12 schools. So for anything that's school related, that OHA guiding document there will pertain to that. So clubs would fall under OHA overarching state guidance. You know, the requirements that they have. There wasn't much conversation today in the OSAA meeting about club sports. The comments that were made were more concerns by coaches for the adjusted seasons that we now have and having to compete with club sports that may draw those kids away now that those seasons might overlap a little bit, whereas before they didn't. So at this point, it seems like state guidance over distancing, masks, number of spectators would be the decision makers for that. And then, of course, availability of school facilities if a club team wanted to use a school facility, for example.
Okay. We'll find out more later, I'm sure.
Yep, I'm sure too. Probably every week we'll have some more clarification on that.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, principals. Is Ms. Chavez giving anything?
She's on the next time.
Okay. All right, we're down to financial report. Janet.
Well, good evening, everybody. While everybody's looking to the future, I'm looking to the behind us all. So what we're reporting on this evening is June 30th, for our year end.
keep in mind this is not, has not been audited. And speaking of that, the audit is gonna look a little bit different, as you probably could imagine this year. Pretty much everything's gonna be online and, portal, emails, that sort of thing. And the portal, we used it a bit last year. We'll use it more heavily this year, given the fact that they're not going to show up in person. So what we're gonna end up doing is any random draws that they pull, we will be scanning and uploading to that portal for them to test. And then of course, it may get convoluted as you go, given the fact that you're not right there on site to look at those documents in person. So we'll see how that goes. We have the same auditors, which you guys signed the engagement letter on that back in June. So I feel like we're going to be okay. They've been great to work with as far as with my own personal situation. They've been working around a little bit of my schedule, which also the admin team has been working around my schedule, and I greatly appreciate that, but I'm almost there. So I'm looking for the 1st of September, we'll be back rolling, and life can get maybe somewhat get back to normal, personally for me. So I appreciate that greatly. So look for emails coming your guys' way as far as board members are concerned, for questionnaires and that sort of thing. So that will be coming your way. So just be sure to be on the lookout for that. So with that, these are unaudited financials. There could be some changes that come down the line. And we'll start off, you guys should have your revenue dashboard there, summary in front of you. I wanted to bring out a couple of things. Overall, we look as if we attained 100% of our revenues. And if you look, you've got state resources at 107 versus local resources at 87% collected. So I went back and looked, and some of the triggers that I had is, and I've suspected this all along, given COVID crisis, pandemic, the current year taxes were going to be slower to come in, and that is a true statement. We had budgeted for about 2.7 million. We actually received 2.5 million in current year taxes. So that doesn't include prior year or, tax sales or anything like that, just current year taxes. So that put us behind about 248,000. So that's a pretty good chunk for us. The other thing when you look at the local sources is that jumped out at me is the tuition from districts. We were pretty right on. In fact, we had more for Adel and Plush, but when we looked at MODOC, we budgeted for 190,000. We actually received by 6/30 47,000. However, I did have 102,000 in accounts receivable as of June 30th. So when you look at some of these things, I have quite a substantial accounts receivable that was out at 6/30 that we collected in July. So some of this looks a little funky, but at the same time, we were about 40,000 off on our budget, which is hard to do MODOCs because we never know what's coming from as far as Davis Creek or New Pine Creek. So, and it looks like it's a different ballpark for again this year. So we may do some adjusting on that. Another one was our interest from LGIP. That obviously kept declining rapidly as we went through. I think we started at, 2.75. We came back in and I think we're now at 1.3%. So it's changed drastically. And so our collection there was a little bit down by about 21,000 from what we projected out there. So that kind of covers my 87% on the local sources. Your state sources is over because when we do our true up from 1819, we get that in 1920. And so we actually received about 213,000 because we basically underestimated. So I always like to be in the positive. I think we go through that every year where I don't have to pay them back. They actually are paying us. So that was a pretty good little chunk of change for us. The other thing that came into play there is our small high school grant. According to state sources, or for the state sources, we budgeted for $25,000. We actually received about $43,000. So there was a huge difference there, which we can correct that later on. And then I also looked to see where else there was kind of some differences in those state sources. In the state sources, there was about almost $19,000 that I had in accounts receivable. And going back, that's our outdoor school, and then we had an aspiring leaders where they were reimbursing us for a teacher, so one could do his administrative license. So a grant that we had. So that was pretty substantial in those differences in our numbers. But other than that, as far as revenue, those were the biggest takeaways and or additions that we had within our budget for revenues. Is there any questions behind any of that?
Hearing none.
Good. No? Okay. Okay, so moving on, you should see your expense dashboard summary. I went back and looked to see kind of where we were at with salaries and benefits. Of course, we had less in other objects. And other objects was our consumables, durables, travel, those items versus our salaries and benefits. Our classified salary was actually down by about 63,000, while our benefits was also down by 115,000 at the end of June. A lot of that, we do a lot of moving around. Classified could possibly be we decided to hire a teacher rather than having another classified staff, and so there's all those kinds of possibilities that came through versus what we budgeted for. So there's the 95% expenditure situation versus our 86% on other objects, which again, travel, consumables, durables, those type of items. So we spent less, which we would have expected to do at the end of spring or during the spring, because we missed out on 3 good months of any purchases there. So we were down about 285,000, which makes total sense as far as that goes. Then the only other thing I wanted to highlight to you is that we had pretty good little expenditures and transfers from the general fund out to, for example, we had, which we kind of discussed, we had to do a resolution to adjust alternative education and our Title IIA programs, our bond support, which we had paid out on some of that, and of course our equipment reserve, which, that's where we buy our buses, equipment, and that sort of thing. Athletic funds was the biggest. I didn't transfer as much as we had budgeted for. I only transferred about 240,000 to put us back in the positive. So that kind of saved us there a little bit. And then of course our cafeteria fund usually hits us pretty good as well. So those are just some of the highlights in the transfers, but they were 624,000 out of our general fund. Any questions on the expenditures? Good, okay. So moving on, your last page there should be your ending fund balance. I believe that I projected that we would be about 1.5 million ending fund balance when we were doing budget figures. And we were actually at 1.4. However, I had 283,000, $283,000 in accounts receivable that I didn't get billed out quickly enough to receive it by June 30th. And so if we would have collected that by June 30th, my ending fund balance would have been 1.4. We have collected everything out of that 283,000, only it was just in July. And given that we are a cash basis situation, it really doesn't count at the end of the day, I guess. But we did have quite a bit of accounts receivable that I normally don't have out at the end of the year. I usually get everything pretty close to collected by June 30th. Any questions on general fund?
So what's our, balance then? 1.52 something?
1.2.
So I budgeted for 1.5, but our actual is 1.1.
Okay. But we've since collected 283,000.
Correct. That should have been in the prior year. Correct.
Okay. Alright, any other questions?
Any other questions?
Janet, do you want to mention that grant you got?
Oh gosh, yes, I'm sorry. I even had a note down here, sorry. So we applied for, the CARES Act, that was originally put out, beginning in the spring of last year. We missed that, however, we beg and plead, and we submitted our application. Our allotment or our allocation, if you will, was roughly 185,000, and so we had to submit how we wanted to spend that and what we spent it on if we were taking anything out of the 1920 year. And so we did a little mixture of both. We took some transportation salaries minus the 70% that we get from the state already. Our cafeteria, since that cost us pretty good little dollars there. And then in the new year, we accounted for some more Chromebooks and peripherals that go with that. And so we maxed out our 185,000 on those. We did get the grant. We are able to go ahead and do drawdowns from that. So we'll start there. And then the new stream of dollars that is coming out, it was supposed to be out on the 10th, our application for the new streams of CARES dollars, which ended up our allotment there is about roughly 173,000. They don't have our application out as of yet. They sent an email out today that they had come across some glitches and putting that out. And so it was forthcoming, and we have about 3 weeks to apply for that and get our, if you will, planned grant approved for that. So we were secure on the 185. We're awaiting for that application opening on 173,000. So, and I have to give Mr. Carter kudos because he had to actually come in and do a lot of writing for me on all those equity pieces that I'm not familiar with. So I turned him loose on that one and said, help me out, I'll give you all the financial you want. But so it was kind of a team effort on that, which turned out good.
Excellent. That'll help pay for,
All this,
thermometers?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Get that for number 8, yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Janet?
But no, that's all I have unless you have questions.
Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on. Okay, old business.
None.
Okay. New business. 8.1.
Yes. I need to buy some thermometers to keep up for our plan, to make sure we have everyone who goes into a building, union or any building they go into, that they'll be checked electronically, and it will save us not having to have a staff there and break it in cohort. So that's important, and also have a staff member test and jeopardizing their safety. And so we decided to do this, and it's the best deal out there right now. So I'm asking the board to approve. It's over my $10,000 limit, but $11,388.77.
Okay, so this puts a thermometer at every school.
Can I interject?
Go ahead, Janet.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Along with that, the email that we got on that offered up a USDA rural development grant that could potentially help us out there with those. And I think Michael and I we've had a brief conversation about that. And so, but just to bring that to light, that might be an avenue that will help us out with that 11,000.
We had Dynamic Energy, who works for the state for grants. They came a couple weeks ago, and they looked at it, and they sent me that email today and went through it. And Janet and I haven't had a chance to talk, like she mentioned. But I didn't wanna say anything yet, but we might get some of that taken care of, but I'm always safe than sorry. It's always better for me to come back to the board, we got more money.
All right. Any other discussion on this? Corey,
No, I'm good.
you gonna make a motion?
Can we make a motion?
Sure.
Sure. I, move that we approve the $11,388.70 to purchase the new thermometers for the school entrances. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve $11,388.77 for the thermal thermometers to be put in all the schools. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. All right, thanks. Consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Announcements. Okay, no announcements. Next board meeting agenda items. Looks like we have, it'll be on September 16th. We'll have Lake County School District number 7 new hires, building principals report, VP athletic director and academy report, and special education report, and a financial report.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Looking for adjournment.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We are adjourned.